welcome to Simple Art at Home with me, Laura Houston. Today we are going to be drawing and painting some sailboats on the ocean. And what we're focusing on today is showing distance in a drawing. And we have foreground right here, that means up at the front of the painting. We have middle ground, notice how the sailboat gets smaller, middle ground, and then background. And notice how the sailboat is very tiny. We also have a horizon line right here that shows the separation of the sea and the sky. And there's a sunset up here. And speaking of sunset, the sunset is made of warm colors. And the warm colors are reds, yellows, and oranges. Whereas the sea is made up of cool colors. And cool colors are blues and greens and violets. So are you ready to get started? I will meet you at the table. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to draw a horizon line. And I recommend you want to start about 4 inches down or so. So somewhere around right here. Do the horizon line with pencil first, because later you might have some sailboats that where the sails cross over the front of it, and to show depth we're going to need to keep that in pencil. We'll go over with pen later. Okay. For some reason my horizon line keeps coming out crooked. Sometimes I have to turn my paper a different direction, and I know you can't really see that yet. You kind of can. I'll hold it up. So the most of the picture will be ocean. So I'll start by drawing the sailboat that's going to be in the foreground. And the way that you can draw a sailboat is I would start by having the top of the sail go above the horizon line. So I'm just going to go up here to about down here. And we're going to just kind of show, do a triangle. So we'll have it go this way, like the sail goes that way, and that kind of goes down there. And then we'll match it with another one that just goes a little bit lower. So you see where that dot is a little bit lower, but I'm going to take it, make a parallel line right there and stop. This one will be smaller, like not as wide, and then make the triangle connect. And then the boat is just, we're going to do a very simple curved boat shape. So leave some space. It's going to extend farther out. So I'm leaving some space just like that. And I'm just going to make almost like a crescent moon, but that's just like a little simple boat shape. And it's a suggestion of a sail. And then we also want to show a sailboat in the middle ground. So I'm going to go back up to the easel and just remind you of what that looks like. So back here at the easel, this was like the big sailboat that we just drew. Now we're going to make one over here that's in the middle ground, and if you notice, it's smaller. And when you draw objects smaller, it's kind of a trick to show that it looks like it's going back into the distance, okay? So we're going to put a smaller sailboat right here on the paper, okay? It's still below the horizon line, if you can see that. Okay, so it's not going to touch the horizon line. I'll meet you back at the table. Okay, just like with the other one, I'm going to start with a triangle right here and make sure it's smaller. I'm going to kind of curve it this way. This will be the sail on the right. And we'll make another one so that this one, the line is shorter. And then make it smaller this way too. Put it over here, put the other line. So it's like 2 triangles back to back. And then just make a boat shape, a curved boat shape underneath. And as long as it's smaller, it's going to look like it's going back into the distance. Now we're going to make a third sailboat right about here. And it's going to be even smaller, okay? And it's going to sit on the horizon line. So I'm going to make the sail go above the horizon line, like that. Maybe I'll make it a little bit bigger there. And make the triangle. And make your other triangle. And then make your boat shape. So that one looks like it's farther out into the ocean. And then we're going to make some even smaller. I don't know if you just heard my cat. That was my cat, gee. Another smaller, I got distracted. So we're going to make a smaller sailboat out here. Make it real small and have it like on the horizon line. So you can just see, you can make out the sails right there. And I'm going to get even like a thinner pen. I'm going to make another one over here. And when you use thinner pens too, they look even farther away. And we'll put maybe one more over here. Just following that same pattern. Now we can add in the horizon line. So I'm going to turn my paper sideways. I don't want to cut across the front of the sailboats. I'm just going to kind of lightly, I'm going to stop. Oh, you can't see what I did there. I'm going to stop. Continue the line between the sails, but not in front of them. Do another line there and stop. So this is the line where the ocean, be very careful around these little boats, where the ocean meets the sky. There. Okay. Might add a little thickness to this one. There. And when we add color, it will help also. Okay. So how about we add some line detail? We practiced with lines in some of the other videos, so you know, I might make to kind of decorate the sails. If you've ever, there was a slideshow that went with this lesson that I made, and I put in examples of sailboats on the ocean, especially around the time of sunset. So you can check out that video, the slideshow, and it has examples of how the sails might be decorated and the colors. This one, I think I just used some kind of like sunburst decorations on this. I just made it up. You can make up a design. Just kind of shows interest. Make a big one over here. And these are kind of too small back there to show detail. I could, if I wanted to, make a little suggestion of the wood, like the wooden boat. If you want to do that, you can. Some real faint lines, not too thick, especially as you go back into the distance. Just a few lines here and there. Okay, so I think what we're ready to do is to add some color, and you can use crayons, anything that you want. I'm going to use watercolor paints. You just kind of clean up my area. I like to organize my desk before I paint. And I'm using watercolors. I got this new brush. I'm going to experiment with it. I hope it's not too thick, but I'm going to just start with maybe some purple on this sail. I think I'll paint this boat and then I'll paint the sunset, and then we'll go back and do the ocean. Sailboats, generally, if they don't have white sails, the sails are colored with very, vibrant colors. Okay. And maybe we'll put some brown here. Okay. So when I paint the sunset, I'm actually going to, I think I'm going to turn my paper upside down to start with the sunset. And I'm going to start kind of at the horizon line. And I'm going to put some yellow. Sometimes it's easier to paint upside down. So I'm just going to paint some yellow across the horizon line. Be careful not to cover the boat sails. This kind of helps me focus. With my paper upside down, it helps me focus on the horizon line to get my brush right against that line. So go with the yellow because it's a sunset. And then as I move up, I'm going to add in some orange. And we're just going to do the best we can because we're using watercolor paint on construction paper. I'm using the same kind of paper that you are. And now I'm going to add in some orange. Yeah, I'm kind of blending it in there with the yellow, and it'll dry lighter, it'll dry very pretty. So I've added in some orange. See how it doesn't have to be perfect straight lines? It'll blend because we have water mixed in. And then I'm going to add some red at the top. So I'm going to get my red, and if you're using crayons, you can still do this with crayon. Blend in, start with yellow, and then we went to orange and red. There. Now I'm going to turn my paper back over on the right side up, and we'll see how that looks as it starts to dry. It's going to look like sunsets and clouds. And then I'm going to paint, how about we paint this sailboat? I'm going to add, I know that my water is going to be, blue. And so I don't think I want to paint my sails blue because the water is going to be blue. I want them to stand out from the water. I'm going to switch to a smaller brush for the smaller sailboats. Maybe I'll use like a bright green here. That looks nice on this guy. And these sails. Okay. And then I might add a little bit of maybe some purple here, light purple. I want contrasting colors to the water. Put some orange there. It's hard when it gets really little. This is like a green yellow color here. But that kind of blends, it's kind of too close to me to the sunset yellow, so maybe I'll add in some darker green, like the boat next to it, there. And then let's add in the brown for the boat part. This guy, do you remember what part of the painting? Is this one background, middle ground, or foreground? Yeah, this one's middle ground. And it's not on the ground, but we just use the word ground as a description, even though it's ocean. There. Okay, and then we'll work on the water. So when it comes to the water in the foreground will be a darker blue. And then I'll add lighter blue as we go back. And I'm painting horizontally side to side to kind of, when I paint the water, my brush strokes are horizontal here. And starting from this point, I will probably start using a lighter blue or adding more water. This is tricky here. You want to get blue in here in between so it looks like you can see the water through this open part. So make sure you paint that. And we're also going to paint the little white space between the sails. So once, just kind of make sure there's some blue in there. There. Okay, now here I'm going to space it out more. I'm putting water on the paper. Oops, I grabbed a little bit of brown, but that's okay. That's what happens with watercolor. So I'm just going to leave some, white in between, white paper. And it shows that the blue is getting lighter. It's not the easiest painting on construction paper. The construction paper really absorbs the water. There we go. So sometimes if you get good at it, you can put some water first. So I'm just putting water on the paper first. And then the paint just kind of melts around in there. But you have to be careful not to let your paper tear. If you start to see that little bits of paper are coming up, you need to stop and let that section dry. I'm just adding some blue here. There we go. Okay, just about done. There. I'm just going to add a little bit of blue right here. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this artwork right here because it's so wet and so drying, but I'm going to meet you back up at the easel. Okay, so what we did today is we painted some sailboats and we showed them going back into the distance by drawing them smaller. And so remember, when something is up front in a painting, that's called the foreground. And then we have the middle ground, which is in the middle. And then something that looks very small back there, we call that the background. We used warm colors in the sky to show the sunset. And we used cool colors on the ocean. Thank you so much for drawing and painting with me. I will see you next time. Bye-bye. See you next time.